Is the lighting, is like Christmas lights? Oh, cool.
Okay. One of the things I really like about teaching in this course for a variety of reasons is it provides me the opportunity to talk to some of my patients in this context. And I'm going to introduce Mr. Jackson in a second, but even though I get to know people, I hope, fairly well, in the context of helping take care of them, actually, I don't get a chance to sit down and talk to someone for like 40 minutes straight in a way that I will now. We're always sort of focused on how you're feeling, looking at labs, looking at scans, talking about symptoms, and I get a chance to get to know someone a little bit better here. Today I have the privilege of introducing to you Mr. Jackson, who I have known for getting close to 2 years. And I will not dominate the conversation. I'm going to hope he's going to talk most of the time. But just as a background, he was diagnosed in the spring of 2023 with a type of cancer called Synovial Sarcoma. And he, over the last 2 years, has been through a variety of treatments, and my goal is to hopefully have him tell you his story. So I'll start off by asking you just to tell us a little bit about yourself, if you want to share where you grew up, what kind of work you've done, whether you have a family, not just basic background, what you might want to tell us.
Yeah, so obviously my name is Brandon. I'm born and raised right here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Lived pretty much in the inner city my whole life. Graduated from Charlottesville High School. My girlfriend Aisha, been together for a long time, over 10 years. We have 2 beautiful girls, 12 years old and 4 years old. I used to be an electrician, a carpenter, just a bunch of different things. That's basically what I was doing before I said I was an electrician for about 7 or 8 years.
Are you a Yankees fan?
Yeah. Not really too happy behind a World Series anyway, but we got it. We got it.
Mr. Jackson's a pretty big sports fan, so we can talk about that in clinics.
Yeah, UVA every day.
So tell me a little bit about how you were feeling in the kind of weeks to months prior to your diagnosis and meeting me in the spring of 23, what was going on?
Well, like I mentioned before, I was an electrician, and sometimes that calls for, up and down ladders and getting in small spaces, crawl spaces, alleys. So I developed a pain kind of in my upper left thigh. Didn't really think too much of it, kind of worked through it, kind of lasted, lingered around for a couple months, got progressively worse. There's nothing that I was really too concerned. I just thought that I maybe tweaked something at work or something. Didn't really think too much of it. And then come around maybe January, February, I kept having these random chest pains. And to me, I never really had heartburn problems, but that's what it felt like what I would think heartburn feels like. And it was just one evening when I went to work and I came home and I just couldn't shake it. Took a hot shower, it wouldn't go away. I had to call the ambulance to come and get me. Like from where I was laying, I was in so much pain. So then I went to the ER and they did scans and basically saw something that looked cancerous in my chest and scheduled different appointments, and I went to Martin Jefferson. That's basically kind of how I got diagnosed.
And when you called the ambulance, what did you think was going on with the pain?
I'm not sure. It was just chest pains. I never felt nothing like it before. Actually, I went twice. So my initial trip to the ER, they ran tests, gave me some pain meds, went back home. And I want to say maybe a day or two later, it came back and I went. That's when they gave me, I think, a CT or something, a more detailed scan, and basically saw liver cancerous. So that's when they scheduled an appointment at Cancer Hospital.
How did they diagnose you? What procedure did you go through to get diagnosed? And, how'd that go? And
They gave me a biopsy, I believe, it's just what a sample of, the area that they think is cancerous, and came back positive, obviously.
I hadn't met you yet to that point.
Yeah, this was at Martha Jefferson.
What was it like to have someone tell you that you had cancer?
I mean, obviously my life changed that day. I mean, because not only was it cancer, he was very blunt about it, told me, you know, so the severity of it and how advanced that it looked. Yeah, he was pretty blunt about it. Told me it's, if it is what he thinks it is, it's not curable. It's just bad news, you know, just overall bad news. Nothing positive. So it was a very dark day.
I'm sorry. Know that the cancer started in your leg and it spread to your lungs,
Yes.
and that was causing your symptoms.
Yes, especially chest.
You also developed problems with, I think, breathing before you met me, and
Yes.
what was that like to feel that way, and what was done to make it better?
So my breathing was just very labored, just felt, everything that I did, I was just really getting winded, out of breath. Basically what ended up happening was I had a lot of fluid around my lungs, and they had to drain like 2 liters of fluid from around my lungs. They actually did that twice, but in the beginning, that was the initial,
That make you feel better?
yeah, I mean, it was a painful process, but, I mean, they just literally stick a needle in your back to your lungs. It's disgusting, but, yeah, I mean, it made me feel better, yeah, temporarily.
I know, again, you had met David Riley, who's one of the oncologists over at Martha Jefferson, and he sent you over here as we met. We talked about certain treatments with these medicines called adriamycin and doxorubicin. What was it like hearing about them, and then what was it like getting those treatments?
Well, you know, we all, I'm pretty sure most of us in here have relatives or know someone that has had a battle with cancer. It's very sad, but you always hear about chemo and what it does to you, and, you know, the loss of your hair, and, you know, you just hear all these stories, and, you know, to now place myself in that same scenario was kind of, you know, it was a trip to kind of, you know, prepare myself for, but, I mean, I got through it, you know.
Yeah. Sort of on the negative side, what, besides losing your hair, what kinds of other side effects did you remember being problematic? Or
I lost weight, nothing tastes right, energy was just gone, motivation, a lot of days, I just really wanted to lay around, just no strength. Yeah, it was a lot, like I said, nothing tastes good, so you have a delicious looking meal in front of you, and it just doesn't, you know.
doesn't translate?
No, it just doesn't, you know, you just can't eat it. So,
Yeah.
so I'd be in the hospital food is not the best, so I would have my relatives just spend a lot of money and bring me food every day. It just was a lot.
Yeah. You mentioned that you had to go to the hospital for those treatments.
Yes.
You were there for several days, then you'd be out for a bit, then you'd come back. And, what was it like just being in the hospital?
With the regimen I was on, I would be in there for like 4 days, 5 nights, give or take. And, I mean, it's just, you can't leave. You know, I have all these IV hookups connected to me. It's just the harsh reality of where I am, you know, on the floor. I'm a relatively young guy, I'm only 34. All the other patients on the floor are, you know, old. It's just depressive environment. It's only with so much I can do throughout the day. They do allow me to bring my PlayStation and things like that, but most of the time I didn't even really play it. You know, it's only with so much you can watch on TV. Time just doesn't go. It's hard to sleep. The nurses come in the room twice an hour, 3 o'clock in the morning, coming to get labs, and you know, it's not a good experience.
Yeah. On the plus side, did it make you feel better in any ways?
Yeah. In the grand scheme of things, I think I was really messed up in the beginning. I wasn't in as good shape as I am today.
So your breathing got better?
My breathing
chest
got better. Yeah, it got to a point where I literally couldn't walk up a flight of steps without being completely out of breath. I couldn't even do some of the things, like, when I was in the hospital, I was probably my first or second round, I was so weak and just so, I had to have a system, my girlfriend had to help me shower, bathe, things like that. I just didn't have it in me, so,
But as you went through, again, we gave you 6 rounds of those treatments.
Yes, progressively, once I got through the battles, I did get better, yes, yeah.
You stopped having to draw fluid off your lungs?
Yes, yeah, that hasn't happened in quite some time,
The pain in both your leg and your chest?
Yes.
Improved.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, as you and I talked about, at some point we couldn't keep giving you those treatments.
Mm-hmm.
And so after 6 rounds of those, we kind of shifted gears, and I referred you to a couple of colleagues, Dr. Bauer, who's one of the surgeons,
Mm-hmm.
and Dr. Romano, who's one of the radiation doctors. And you went through surgery for your leg and radiation for your lungs.
Mm-hmm.
What was that period of treatment like?
Surgery, just the location, because they had to cut the backside of my thigh, so you had to imagine anytime you sit down, rolling around in the bed, it's an odd spot to heal, so it was very irritating. The wound healed pretty well, but there were times where I got a little irritated or, caused me some discomfort and pain. I got creams and things to put on. I had to have a drain, basically in my thigh to drain the fluid. I had to have that for about a month maybe, which wasn't fun. I mean, it's literally a tube hanging out, and it's disgusting. So I would have to walk around with a pouch of fluid kind of in my pocket. So just little things like that. It's just.
What about the radiation in your lungs? Do you remember much about that?
The radiation is painless. It's not really, you kind of in and out, takes, 15, 20 minutes. Just playing on the machine. Radiation is probably the least of any of the treatment that I've received. It's very easy.
Yeah.
Didn't really feel any side effects from it. Didn't really affect my life at all. Other than when I had to get I know that's later.
Yeah.
When I had the radiation to my leg, that was a different story.
Yeah. So, after that, again, things were a lot better with your cancer, with your lungs, with the tumor being out. We started you on your first pill for cancer. That medicine, I always joke with you, and I joke with them that it's always learning the names. I know it as regorafenib. The other name, actually, I think Stivarga, I struggle with in terms of remembering it. What was it like being on that pill? As an oral chemotherapy to try to keep cancer under control.
Well, it tears your hands and your feet up. It just completely dries them out to the point where you form kind of blisters in the creases of your hands and your toes and things like that. To the point where in the beginning, when it really starts peeling, it's very painful. It makes it hard to walk. I have these slides that I normally wear. They're just the most comfortable thing for me to wear. It's most shoes. I just couldn't
tyrosine kinase inhibitor called regorafenib. And again, if you had to compare it to the IV chemotherapy, I think I had asked you this, which one was sort of better or worse, or were they just different?
It's completely different, because it's annoying when your hands can't do anything, and, you know, feet, it's like walking on pins, and it's completely different battles. The chemo breaks you down internally, and just takes away your energy and things like that. The pills just make it hard for your most important things to function, your hands.
Yeah, it's
And
kind of
the ability to
continuous
walk.
too, right? You
Yeah,
gotta take those pills.
and you have to keep them moisturized. Overnight, they get really dry, so when I wake up, they're like really stiff and just, you know, it takes a while to kind of get it going.
Yeah. While you were starting the pills, is my memory, and again, you can correct me, my memory's wrong, we were talking about this, that we both kind of lived it from different perspectives, and it was complicated, but memories, you started having pain in your leg again.
Yes.
Unfortunately, when we looked into that, it looked like that despite the surgery, you had a recurrence of your cancer in your leg. And so we sent you back to Dr. Romano, the radiation doctor, and you went through radiation again, and you were actually alluding to how it was different that time. Can you tell us about that second radiation experience?
Different only in a way that in a particular spot where the tumor is, kind of on the right in your pelvis or whatever.
Yeah.
So the position that I had to lay in, you know, as a man, I had to lay on the table with my, you know, with my legs kind of spread open. And they had to kind of place a device around my, you know, my private parts or whatever. It was just very uncomfortable, very, I guess demeaning, maybe. I understand it has to be done, and I'm all for it, you know, but that was, side effect, all that stuff was the same. I didn't feel anything, it was painless, but just I was just very exposed, you know. Sometimes 2 or 3 doctors just didn't make me feel well, so I had to do that for
A few weeks.
Yeah,
It was a little
10
longer
weeks or
than,
something like that,
than the
15
first
weeks or
course.
something.
Yeah. We kept you on those first set of pills for a while, but then my memory was that you started developing some pain in your chest and some issues with your breathing again. You kind of described what that felt like again. I imagine that it felt kind of similar, eerily similar to when we met, you know, when you started feeling those things.
Like I said, in the beginning of all of this, I was in a bad place. I was really messed up, and I felt like I was heading back into those same feelings, as far as pain, as far as discomfort, as far as breathing. So I was just a little worried because I've been here before, and I know that that's not the direction that I'm trying to go in. So
yeah. So you know, we did scans, and it looked like on the pills, you know, they were kind of running out of steam in terms of trying to keep things under control. So we kind of together made a decision to go kind of back to going back with chemotherapy and back in the hospital and all that stuff. What was that like, kind of preparing for that again, knowing you'd been through it once, and then how were those treatments? Are they the same, they different? But they were with one of the medicines is kind of given in a different way, right? I don't know what they seem like to you in terms of the side effects or.
well, it helps that I've been through it before, so I kind of know what to expect. As far, I felt pretty much the same, even though I know that, you know, the first time it was the doxycycline, the second time it was whatever it was. But it, you know, it kind of felt the same. I felt like actually the doxycycline, the red bag, was a lot more stronger or powerful. Because my second go around, I feel like even though I felt all the same feelings, I still felt broke down, I still was fatigued, you know. But this go around, I didn't really lose a lot of weight. I was able to bounce back a lot faster than I was the first time. So.
And fortunately, again, it kind of pushed some cancer back in the right direction, and that chest pain and that breathing got better again. I imagine that frostmite can do is it can affect kidneys, and I know me and you talked about your kidneys a lot, although I don't think you felt a lot from the kidneys being off. But one thing that it concretely did is it made your phosphorus low, and it made me torture you with taking tons of phosphorus pills that you still take.
Yeah.
How many phosphorus pills do you take right now?
9 a day, 3 in the morning, 3 in the midday, and 3 in the evening.
Yeah.
Not fun, they're pretty big pills.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
It is what it is.
But it, again, that's unfortunately one of the side effects that we ran into with that medicine. Ultimately we got to the place where that became, problematic, as well as, again, we thought that maybe it wasn't working, quite as well as we hoped it would be. So we switched gears again.
Yep.
And we got actually to the kind of the current chapter, which is now you're taking another oral chemotherapy called pazopanib.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what the other name is. I don't know if you
No
know it. What's it like? Again, in similar ways, I can tell you, again, I know what you're gonna say, and it'll make sense. You can actually display your hands.
Yeah, so it's very similar to the last medication that I was on. It tears your hands and your feet up, right in the creases. It's just, they're getting a little bit better now because I've been on it for a little while. But when you first start, it's really bad. But yeah.
And it's with your feet too.
And it's with my feet too. Yeah.
So it can make it hard to walk.
Yeah. Like I said, it's getting a little bit better. I have tennis shoes on it. So.
Yeah. Again, I don't know. It may be a little better than the last one. Well, maybe I'm making that up.
It's about the same. He hasn't mentioned it yet, but I mean, my hair is white, so that's a very odd side effect of the medication. 2 months ago, my hair was dark brown, black, so it's very, very odd.
Yeah, it
takes some getting used to.
Yeah, it's a very odd side effect, because again, you went through chemotherapy where
I completely lost it, yeah, so I've just been going through it as far as, physical appearance, but whatever, I'm all in, it doesn't make me any difference, so.
No, it certainly doesn't.
Yeah.
And it definitely, again, we talked about it when we started it, that this medicine, unlike the first one even, has this very odd side effect of changing pigment. And it, you know, Mr. Jackson is not gray, literally turned his hair white.
Everybody, just the oddest thing in the world.
Yeah, takes some getting used to, huh?
Yeah. Made me feel good. I was in the store the other day. I was like, man, I like the look you're going for. I appreciate it. It made me feel good.
Does it cause you any other side effects? Does it upset your stomach, anything like that?
There have been a very few random times where I just threw up, had stomach issues, but very, very random. It kind of comes out of nowhere, but other than that, that's about it.
Yeah.
The hands, the feet, the hair, that's about it.
How's the symptoms from the cancer going these days?
I think I'm doing okay. I mean, considering, I'm not, I don't feel 100%. I don't feel 100%, but I will say, and I don't think you spoke to it yet, but the after effects of getting the radiation to my leg, I guess, developed, and you can maybe speak to this.
I know. Tell us what that has been, like after the fact with the radiation.
Right, I guess, to my understanding, I guess it kind of inflamed the tissues in my leg or something. You guys will know more than I will, but it just feels like my left leg is tight or swollen to the point where like it's not as flexible as my right leg. Sometimes it's difficult to put my socks on and things like that, but that's about it.
Yeah. And again, we're giving you this pill, you're taking the pill, things are going okay. We are considering a new treatment for you, and I'll explain it a little bit because it is complicated, but I do want to sort of explain how it would impact your life and get your perspective on it. Oddly enough, there is a new category of treatment called CAR T cells, where cells from the patient are taken out of them and put back in them to attack a cancer. And those are predominantly, as we'll learn, for blood cancers. Synovial sarcoma is the first solid tumor that actually has had a CAR T treatment approved for it. I had a patient, I've shared this with Mr. Jackson, I had a patient who actually was involved with the clinical trials in its development, benefited a lot from it. The problem is it's a pretty specialized treatment for a very rare cancer. And initially when I started to talk to Mr. Jackson about it, the only place that it was available to do was Tampa, Florida. And still, the current closest place where you could get this treatment would be Philadelphia. And you'd have to go there for probably at least a few weeks and live there. When I started talking to you about that, what was your kind of perspective, and now even what are your thoughts about, the possibility of that?
Well, Philadelphia is a lot closer than Tampa. It's all part of the journey, man, to be honest. I'm all aboard. I'm not looking forward to being away from my family for that far away for that amount of time, but if that's what needs to be done, I'm all aboard. I try to prepare myself for each of these obstacles that I go through, because I told myself a long time ago it wasn't going to be easy. It just is what it is, man. If that's all that's available, I gotta go to Philly.
You've obviously been through a lot in the last couple of years. How would you say it's changed you, in sort of your view of the world and your relationships? Has it changed you? If it has, what's different?
Man, life is so precious. Nothing matters. Like, sometimes we get caught up in the rat race of life, and nothing matters but just happiness, your family, your loved ones, if you have kids. Nothing matters, man. That's really the gist of it.
It's perspective.
Yeah, it's hard to put yourself in a position like I am. When the doctor tells you, maybe a few years, I've came to grips a long time ago that I probably won't live a long life, like my grandparents, great-grandparents, 70, 80 years old. If I do, then that's a blessing. It's a miracle within itself. But I understand that it may not be in my cards. So if I can help someone, if I can inspire someone, motivate someone to be a better person, then my job here is done. It's kind of each one teach one mentality. Kindness, all those things that our mothers taught us, that's the real values of the world. Money, material things, none of that stuff really matters.
You also obviously have gone to see lots of different doctors, taken care of lots of different nurses, people in radiology who help you with your scans and your radiation. What have you seen in the medical system that is really good? You thought, here you have a captive audience of early physicians to be. What would you like them to learn from your experience that was good?
I would say everyone who I've worked with, all the doctors, they've been great. Dr. Douvas is my guy, man. We chop it up, talk about sports, talk about our families. It makes me feel like he actually cares. And I know he's a very busy man. I've gotten late phone calls from him late in the evening where I feel like he's on his personal time just to call and tell me something. It just makes me feel like he's thinking about me, like he actually really cares and wants to see me do good. And I don't even know if he remembers, it was one time where I was really going through an accident. How do you do it, And he basically told me something like, know, we're all here to serve a different purpose. My purpose here is to help people. So I will say that the care that I've gotten from here at UVA has been great. So
what have you seen, including things I might have done, that could be better? Something that you saw and you thought, yeah, I wish that hadn't happened, or maybe it had been better if it had been said this way or done this way.
I really can't complain. There hasn't really been anything that stuck out to me where I was treated, you know, a way I didn't like, or I think everyone's just been very, very polite and respectful and professional that I've came across. So, even all the nurses when I stayed at the hospital and, you know, few and far between, everyone's been great.
That's good. Glad to hear that. Anything else you want to share about your story that you think I haven't asked you?
I mean, I think you pretty much touched everything, to be honest. Yeah.
I'm gonna open things up to these guys and see what they might have to ask. Go ahead.
So thank you so much for coming and talking to us today. I'm sure that throughout this journey, there's been a lot of, you know, different doctors and people telling you, okay, this is what you need to do, based on their understanding of your situation. But pain is something that, like, you are the only person who can know how much pain you're in. So, and cancer at different places, different spots in your journey, you've always, or obviously had a lot of pain. So can you talk about how your pain was managed, if you felt like you were being offered enough control for your pain, if you weren't offered enough, you felt like you had to ask for it a lot? Can you just talk about that?
No, I never felt like I had to ask for it. You know, he always asked me how I'm feeling. Do I need a refill of my medication? Do I need this and that, this and that? He makes sure that I'm taken care of, and I really haven't came across any problem seeking relief for pain.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. I commend your mindset. I think that's really inspiring. Hearing how you're dealing with this situation. I have two questions. The first being, you mentioned that you took 2 trips to the ER. Did they take a chest X-ray the first time? Because you said that they sent you home right after.
Like, sometimes the timeline may get, I want to say the first time that I went, I think they just took a simple chest X-ray and didn't really see too much. I just noted the second time that I went, that's when they gave me a CT, and that's when they actually dug a little bit deeper and saw.
Okay, that makes sense. And the second one, I mean, you can take it or your girlfriend can, because it's directed to her. First of all,
I did warn Ms. Mallory about this.
You're good, you're good.
First of all, kudos. I think it's, I can only imagine taking care of somebody who has cancer.
Thank you.
So I was just wondering, how does that feel?
It's hard with 2 children, but we get, oh, sorry. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's hard with 2 children, but we get through it day by day.
She's an amazing woman, man. She holds me down. She, you know, days I'm not feeling well, she'll run me a hot bath. She's the best. I will say, I'm really blessed to have someone like her in my life.
I have to get him a bail.
Again, I can say, you haven't figured it out already. They're both pretty amazing people. Over here.
Thank you again for being here. Along kind of the lines of in the past question, I was just wondering, with younger children, how did you navigate kind of explaining your diagnosis to them and the treatments you had to go through?
That's one of the hardest things. Like I mentioned, I have a 12-year-old and a 4-year-old. They were, I want to say she was 11 when I got diagnosed. But so my 4-year-old, she was 3 at the time or whatever. So I can't one day, me and her went and got some ice cream or something, and I just had to sit down and talk with her the best way that I could, even though, I mean, how much do you really understand at 11 years old? How much, you don't really, I know she didn't really grasp what I was telling her, but after that, she's seen everything that I've went through, and she's an amazing kid too. She'll come in the room, hey dad, you need anything, dad, you this and that. She's very supportive, and I think that she now kind of started to really understand things that her dad's going through. She's seen me lose my hair turn white, so yeah, it's a lot to put on a kid. And I don't wish that on anybody, but I think she's taking it well.
And I always remember the little things, but you had to go on that school trip to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Out of all cities.
Out of all cities, yeah.
In the middle of your treatments.
Yeah, not too long ago. That was great. Yeah, she had a field trip for a chorus class in Philly, and her teacher allowed me to join with them. That was an experience within itself. We got to go to a baseball game and just get to see her interact with her classmates and things. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. Yes.
You mentioned when you were told that your diagnosis that the physician was pretty blunt and told you how it was. In retrospect, do you wish that he was maybe, not to say sugarcoat, but maybe you went about it a little bit gentler, or do you appreciate his bluntness? And do you have any advice for us for breaking bad news to patients in the future?
When I say blunt, I don't want to make it seem like he was rude or anything of any stretch of the imagination, because he wasn't. It's just that it is what it is. You can't sugarcoat something like that. I would rather you tell me straight up how it is versus kind of beating around the bush. So yes, he told me in a very respectful way. It was blunt just because, hey, you have stage 4 cancer spread to your lungs, and you may have X, Y, Z, you may live this long, you may whatever, I mean, there's no way to tell someone that in a polite way. So, but he told, I didn't have a problem with the way he told me.
So kind of going off of that, I know you said you came in just for your leg pain and just some problems breathing, so I'm assuming cancer probably wasn't the first thing that came to mind with that. So just mentally, how did you cope with that diagnosis initially, especially if it came out of more left field if you weren't expecting it very much?
Well, from when I was in the ER and they told me to look cancerous, that was kind of the precursor to me meeting up with Dr. Riley. So I kind of was like, man, I hope it's not this, I hope it's not cancer, I hope it's, but when he actually told me, I mean, I broke down in tears right there, crying like a baby. Me and my girlfriend, and it was a lot to take in.
Still, I imagine that it's still a process, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something else, man. It really is. It really is. And I have people in my personal life. My mom is a cancer survivor. She had breast cancer. Thankfully, they caught her early enough, and she's been in remission for the last 10 years. But like I said, I'm pretty sure cancer is such a common thing. I'm pretty sure all of us have relatives, friends. It's horrible.
Thank you again for speaking with us. I'm curious a little bit about how there have been financial burdens, if any, for you. You spent a lot of time in the hospital and have been trialing through a lot of treatments, so how has that been? And do you wish anything was better about that?
No, actually, I don't pay for anything. I have Medicaid, and that's a blessing within itself. I can't imagine how much my medical bills have been over the last 2 years. But yeah, I don't have the financial burden pretty much at all. So that's something that I don't have to stress about, thankfully.
Yeah, I will mention this, and I have mentioned it to Mr. Jackson, and I hope it's not gonna be an issue, but I do mention it in this context. One of the challenging things sometimes about Medicaid and about 50 states in the United States is that Medicaid doesn't travel. So one of the things that we may have to deal with when we try to get Mr. Jackson up to Philadelphia is the fact that it's in the state of Pennsylvania and he has Virginia Medicaid. And I can say that in my experience working with other patients, it can be a sticking point. The good news in his circumstance is usually it's a problem getting people on things called clinical trials because they're not proven, and Medicaid will often not pay for coverage of something that's not proven. What he's considering doing is FDA approved and proven and approved for what he has, and it is absolutely not available in the state of Virginia. So I'm hoping that won't be an issue for us. But on the sort of financial side, I'm glad to hear that Medicaid has been so good to you. But again, sometimes, and it's not always specific to Medicaid, but sometimes it can be tricky in getting newer treatments or different kinds of treatments covered. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about why that treatment is not available in Virginia? Like, why do you have to go to Philly to get that? Is it because of the physician or?
So there's two reasons. One is it's brand new. It was just FDA approved, I don't know, how many months ago did I mention it to you? A month or two?
Yeah.
So it is brand new and just approved. That's part of it. Ultimately, the plan is to have a site in every state. And again, not just by chance, the planned site is actually VCU within the state of Virginia. Synovial sarcoma is a pretty rare cancer. And so that treatment also isn't applicable to a large population of patients. And so therefore having it available at every hospital is probably not, it's also a very specialized thing. Where you have to manipulate cells and then you have to give it back to people, and so it's probably not going to be widely available. And because it's just coming online, literally they're trying to open places. The first place to open was Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa, and then other places are coming online. And I don't know yet in a good way. Mr. Jackson's in a good place right now, but I don't want to wait to see when VCU is going to be online, so we're going to work on trying to get him, somewhere where it's available. Although that clearly has downsides in terms of what he explained, in terms of being away from family and support. Yes.
Yeah, so first, I don't want to impose any of my beliefs on you. For one vibe I've gotten from this entire conversation is a lot of peace, a lot of calm and serenity with acceptance of the situation you're in, what your future may look like, and where the options exist. And I think that's a very special place to be in. It's very easy to try and avoid pain or chase happiness, but I think we're our best. We receive love more freely. We give more equally when we're at that place of peace. And how do you feel like you've gotten to that point? And do you feel like as it translates to our relationship in your life, whether it's your relationship with your girlfriend, how you love your kids, how you love other people in your life? Just love to hear more about that.
Well, your inner peace is everything. Take time for yourself to reflect. Sometimes I just go to the park, just sit, just quiet, turn my phone off. But I'm also thankful that I have people in my life where I can talk about the things I'm going through and kind of help me and give me good advice. I have great friends. My relationship with my parents is great. I'm my mother's only child, so me and her are really close. But yeah, it doesn't do you any good to feel sorry for yourself. No matter what circumstance you're in, there's always someone that's way worse than you are. There's kids that's way worse than I am. I'm blessed to be here today in the condition that I am. So, like I said, a win is a win. I take it a day at a time. I try not to stress myself about trivial things that don't really matter. So that's and like I said, my kids bring me peace. My kids, they're everything. just have fun and, I can't walk around feeling bad for myself or, I have to get them ready for life. So there's more important things to worry about than, just being sorry about myself and where I am, so.
Just one quick add. So my mother was diagnosed with chronic illness around the same time your daughter was, and I will tell you, they notice and see everything you do, and how you carry this through is definitely going to impact how they view and see life. So you're doing an amazing job chasing that.
I appreciate that. That's the goal.
Yes.
Are there any ways that you've managed all of the symptoms and side effects that have worked well and you want other patients to know about that they can try to?
What do you mean as far as like managing the pain, managing discomfort, things like that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, just little things. After chemo, I may spend a day, in the hot tub or go and get massages and things like that. Or like I said, for my hands and my feet thing, I'm going through my medication. I've tried different creams and moisturizers and things like that to kind of help with that. My doctor prescribes me pain medication for any pain or discomfort that I'm going through. It's not really, I think it's a case by case thing, each ailment calls for a different solution, I guess.
Thank you for sharing. I wanted to ask a little bit, like, especially during the start of the treatments, I figured that work was kind of like a secondary concern, but could you talk about a little bit about how your job was with accommodating you getting your treatments?
Well, the guy who I used to work for, he's a great guy, and it all happened very fast. Once I got diagnosed, there was no more working. I started the process of getting disability and things like that. It was kind of seemingly overnight, but yeah, my old boss was very supportive. It wasn't a bad transition at all.
Sweet. And then unrelated question, where's Juan Soto going this off season?
I'm sorry?
Where's
Juan Soto going in the off season? Is he going back to the Yanks?
Oh yeah, he's staying.
So I'm, again, I think Mr. Jackson knows this, I'm from New York, and I'm one of the very rare New Yorkers that can root for both teams, Mets and Yankees, although when they play each other, I have to pick
I was
one.
hoping it was gonna be a Subway series.
So, and he knows I'm a Yankees fan, because I am,
Yeah.
but at heart, I'm a Mets fan. So, we'll see where he ends up. Either way, hopefully it won't be the Dodgers.
No.
Any last questions from Mr. Jackson? I, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank you for coming. I know it's not easy to come and share a story like that. I appreciate you being so sort of open with everybody and telling your story and giving us your time. So thank you very much for coming.
It was a complete honor for me, man. I'm hoping I can spark something in at least one of you.
Yeah, I bet you have.
I'm sure you are gonna go on and do great things in your life.
Thank you very much. And hope you guys have a good afternoon.